Hello there, and it's good to have you on board another sumptuous and grand edition of our monthly flagship program. I'm not alone on the program, well, as usual, and I have a co-presenter, and Jadisola.
All right, good afternoon, everyone out there, and thank you for always joining us on Guest of the Month. And of course, Teriba has shared with us, of course, the highlight of what the program is all about. And trust me, you will enjoy today's edition because, again, we have someone who will be doing justice to issues across the nation. And he's vast, he's a veteran when it comes to knowledge. And of course, he has worked his part to get to this point to exhibit what he can offer us on the program.
Right, my name is Tola Teriba.
And I am Jadisola Ajibola.
Like Jadisola said, our guest this afternoon has walked the path of greatness. And the climb up the ladder, he would be able to tell us whether it was a smooth one, whether it was cumbersome, whether it was difficult. In time, you'll get to know. What I'll say for now is that our guest, well, an icon in the finance sector, one of, I would say, Africa's best brains when it comes to finance, when it comes to economic matters. And he's also a doctor of veterinary medicine. How that correlates, he will be telling us. But let's have a peep into the profile of our guest this afternoon before we introduce him formally.
Dr. Adesola Kazeem Adedutan was born on May 7, 1969. He's a Nigerian business executive with over 30 years of experience in the financial sector. He served as the Group Chief Executive Officer of First Bank of Nigeria Limited and its subsidiaries First Bank Group, which comprises First Bank Nigeria, First Bank United Kingdom, First Bank Ghana, First Bank Democratic Republic of Congo, First Bank Guinea, First Bank Gambia, First Bank Senegal, First Bank Sierra Leone, First Bank Pension Custodian Nigeria Limited, and First Nominees Limited. During his tenure, he led various initiatives aimed at transforming the bank's operations, expanding its digital services, and overseeing its growth in both domestic and international markets. Adedutan was born in Ibadan, Oyo State Capital, Nigeria. He earned a Doctor of Veterinary Medicine, DVM, from the University of Ibadan between 1986 and 1992. He went to obtain an MBA from Cranfield University in 2005, where he was a British Chevening Scholar. In 2022, Cranfield University awarded him an honorary doctorate of science. Adedutan was also recognized as the most distinguished alumni by both Cranfield University and the University of Ibadan. In addition, he has attended various executive education programs at international universities, including Harvard Business School, Stanford University, and Wharton School, among others. He is a fellow of both the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria and Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria. Adedutan began his career at KPMG, formerly Arthur Andersen, in 1995, where he rose to the position of a senior manager in the Financial Services Division. He worked on projects related to strategy, audit, mergers and acquisitions, and process improvements for several large Nigerian banks. He served as Senior Vice President and Chief Financial Officer at Citibank Nigeria between 2005 and 2007. His role included overseeing the recapitalization of the bank to meet regulatory capital requirements and managing various financial aspects of the subsidiary. Adedutan was the Director, Chief Financial Officer, and Business Manager at the African Finance Corporation, AFC, from 2007 to 2014. He was responsible for the Finance and Treasury Division and played a role in raising funds for the corporation during his tenure. Adedutan joined First Bank of Nigeria in 2014 as Executive Director, Group Chief Financial Officer, before becoming CEO in 2016. His leadership focused on improving the bank's operations efficiency, expanding its digital banking services, and restructuring its balance sheet. He also contributed to the bank's international expansion, with First Bank operating in several African countries, the United Kingdom, and China. Under his leadership, First Bank implemented various digital initiatives, which included growing its digital customer base and expanding its agency banking network. He is also credited with overseeing efforts to reduce the bank's non-performing loans, NPLs, and improve its profitability. Presently, is the chairman, Governing Council, Abiola Ajimobi Technical University.
So you've heard it all. A top-notch Nigerian, you would say. Our guest on Guest of the Month for the month of October, Dr. Adeshola Kazeem Adedutan. Welcome to Guest of the Month.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, viewers at home. Happy to be here today.
But from what you've seen in that profile of Dr. Adedutan, Dr. Adeshola Kazeem Adedutan, a former group chief executive officer of First Bank Nigeria, and is currently chairman governing council of the Abiola Ajimobi Technical University, TechU. Like I said, a man of many parts, and he spreads his wing like the bald eagle over the finance sector in Nigeria. One of the eggheads, if you want to consider the top eggheads in the finance sector in this country. Dr. Adedutan, now before we went for that profile, that peep into your profile, I was saying something, the correlation between veterinary medicine, economics, and finance. So I don't get the link, Dr. Adedutan. Why are you a vet doctor? At the same time, you are one of Nigeria's top finance heads.
Thank you, and I actually expected that question. I completed my secondary education at Urban Day Grammar School, Old Ife Road in Ibadan here. I'm 100% from Ibadan, by the way. And I was admitted to University of Ibadan to study veterinary medicine. Like most strong science students of our days, everyone wanted to become medical doctors. And when I wasn't successful in getting admission to read medicine, human medicine, I was admitted for veterinary medicine, straight again out of secondary school. 1986, I left secondary school. 1986, I was at UI to study veterinary medicine. But I had an advantage. My father was very well exposed. And apparently, during the indigenization era in the 70s, my dad took active part in that, and he purchased shares, not substantial, in many of the companies that were privatized back then. So Unilever, we used to be called Lever Brothers Nigeria Limited then. Afribank, First Bank itself, CAPL, that's the CAPL, where they manufacture soap and paints, and a host of others. So right from youth, I was exposed to reading about businesses. And as I mature and as my brain could deal with it more, the more, even though I was in the university studying veterinary medicine, which I was enjoying, each time I'm home and I'm just trying to relax, I will go to my father's sitting room, pick up copies of the annual report, and I will read them. So in the process, I got fascinated with the likes of Dr. Michael Omolayole, who I believe was then the MD of Lever Brothers, which is now Unilever. The likes of Felix Oyiwere. I read the annual reports. Like, it was actually the first time I heard about Chief Olu Akinkugbe, who coincidentally just passed in the last couple of days. So, as I grew and as I matured, it became obvious to me that I actually love what I was reading. And I started building somewhere in my childhood brain, because I was just late 20s, late teens actually. It was like 18, 19, 20, all this period. And gradually, my vision for myself changed from the vision of being a doctor to becoming a leading business player, a strong player in the business sector. Gradually, I saw myself more as a boardroom person. But here I was quite advanced in my study of veterinary medicine. I was already, by the time that vision fully crystallized, I was in year 5 out of year 6 of veterinary medicine. So it made logical sense to complete veterinary medicine. And that was exactly what I did.
Okay.
You completed veterinary medicine without the passion for veterinary medicine. Your passion was elsewhere.
No, I had the passion for medicine because I had the brain and I had the capacity. So veterinary medicine for me was effortless. But you see, as you begin, I don't know what the university is. And that's why I said it was a privilege. Maybe if I didn't have a father who had those investments and got exposed to those annual reports, my story today most likely would have been different. So here I was, and I was actually just going to make a point. To complicate my situation, when I went for my youth service, I actually served with the Bauchi Polo Club in Bauchi. And this was 92, 93. I actually made tons and tons of money. Indeed, don't forget, taking care of horses. In fact, where I actually made the bulk of the money was actually coming down to Ibadan here, buying drugs, veterinary drugs, and basically, so buying veterinary drugs at wholesale prices here and retailing them in Bauchi. For anybody that is familiar with the practice of medicine with horses, if you look at a horse, some of them weigh as much as 300 kg. So the doses that they require in terms of drug is quite significant. So completing my youth service, I was actually in a dilemma because I was commercially very successful in that 1 year that I practiced veterinary medicine. So the temptation was to continue
in that line.
But I allowed, for some while, I got the divine guidance to say, stay with the vision that you've crafted for yourself in the last 18 months or so, which was find a way to move away from veterinary medicine into management. And that was what I did eventually.
Okay, let's quickly look at what you've achieved so far, from veterinary medicine to finance. Did you find any fulfillment along the path? Because it's one thing to follow your dream, it's another thing to find fulfillment. Did you find any fulfillment?
Unimaginable fulfillment. When you start from the base of the pyramid and you get to the peak of your chosen profession, when you are privileged to be at that level where you are running one of Africa's largest financial institutions, the joy, the fulfillment, and God also now gave you the ability to achieve what you set out to achieve, even in that role. It's an uncommon position to find oneself, and you can only return all praises and adoration back to God. I have a very strong upbringing as a Muslim, and right from youth, we learned, we believe, and we imbibe the fact that you need to work hard, you need to work smart, but at the end of the day, it's only Allah who can crown your effort. And that, for me, is the way I've looked at this the entire journey. That at the end of the day, God knows the end from the beginning. And he just guided you to do all those things, being in the right places at the right time. But to answer the question categorically, unbelievable level of fulfillment.
Now, you were in the, as a young man, I picked something from what you said, from the things that inspired you to go into the finance sector. You were rummaging through your father's study, and you were seeing those journals on businesses. And then you mentioned certain names that drew nostalgia in me. You mentioned Unilever, you mentioned some of these conglomerates that at best are no more today in Nigeria, or are now a shadow of themselves. How does that make you feel?
So again, the world itself is not static. The world is continuously evolving, rapidly evolving. And if you follow what the economists are saying to us, we're actually in what is called another industrial revolution, but this time is being led by digital innovation. So the truth of the matter, and this takes me back to the focus I had while I was at EMS of Affair at First Bank. They will tell you that one of my very popular saying to my team and to the board of directors of First Bank was, any institution that failed to innovate will die. Because the answers and the solutions that worked yesterday, they would or may not necessarily be the right solution today. Look at even your business, broadcasting. Look at how fundamentally it has changed in the last 20 years on the back of technology. So what is happening? And Unilever is still existing in Nigeria. CAPLC is still existing in Nigeria, but the market has changed. The market fundamentals have changed such that you now have indigenous firms that are also doing extremely well. And that's why the likes of Dangote, that's why you have the likes of Dangote, the likes of Boa, who 40, 50 years ago were not there, but they are there today. So is that at the heart of that is the fact that the space, the economic space is rapidly changing. You must change rapidly along with those changes. You must innovate. If you don't innovate, you will die.
Dr. Adeluton, I'm worried about the kind of innovations we are having, especially when it comes to the real sector of the Nigerian economy, the production of goods and services. Now, there are insinuations that those that have remained in business on Nigerian shores, those that you are talking about, are those that are willing to compromise standards. You are a key player, and you would know if I'm right or wrong. Those that have agreed, that have decided that it's okay to compromise standards, and at best, what we have when we say we are encouraging local production, it's a drop in the quality of goods, of products coming out from the real sector of the economy.
From where I sit, from what I can see, from the feedbacks that I have, I disagree with you. Indeed, if there is anything that has become global, it's quality. Because if you don't provide or you don't produce
Sorry
goods...
to butt in, Dr. Adeluton, they are saying that the difficult conditions for operating in the Nigerian environment is what is forcing down standards.
That's what I'm saying. I rarely encounter, and I can't even remember encountering any inferior product. And I'll give you 2 or 3 good examples.
But there is a particular beverage that you would find in every restaurant you visit, at every party you go. That beverage has dropped in quality over the years.
Which beverages?
I can't mention it for obvious reasons.
So again, so that's what I'm saying.
But then it's the most popular in our country.
So what I can say to you is that, and we need to, I always tell people we must be scientific. We must base our conversation on facts. And I will give you one example. You see, in my previous role, I used to transverse West Africa a lot.
Okay.
And you'll be amazed that whether you're in Ghana or you're in Senegal, you see Nigerian-made products. Those folks have the options of importing those goods from other countries. The reason why they have come to Nigeria to purchase those goods is because they have the right quality. Indeed, if I remember what most of my clients used to say to me, if you go to most of the major markets across the country, especially in those business hubs that are not too far from the border, they will tell you that a chunk of the products made in Nigeria, they find their way into the neighboring countries. So I know for a fact that manufacturers like Dangote Cement, for example, they do export part of their cement to other West African countries. So these are countries where it is not mandatory for them to buy those products from Nigeria. The reason why they are patronizing made in Nigerian products is because they are of the right quality. Again, we must be very careful. Just let me make this point. Not to, because what I love about us Nigerians is that we do a lot of self-criticism. But sometimes we go over and beyond, and we actually bring down our own icons. I can assure you, many of the products that get produced in Nigeria are of the right quality. I'm not saying, and don't misconstrue that, I'm not saying we do not have the problem of fake or substandard products. But for the names that are out there, their product is of global standard. And I've cited the example of what the country has achieved around cement and many other products. Like I said, if you transverse from Lagos down to Dakar, the entire West African coast, and I do visit those countries very frequently.
Why are the international conglomerates, why are they closing shop and leaving our shores? So many of them have left.
As some of them were leaving, the question you need to ask yourself, have you noticed a vacuum? The answer is no. Because sometimes, in fact, most of the time, you have either indigenous players or other international, or maybe not multinationals, replacing them. Today, people don't hear about many of the key players in the Nigerian economic sector. So a firm like Tolerant, for example, they are the one manufacturing Indomie noodles. They do so many, in fact, they have array of products. Again, they are involved in the recent acquisition of Diageo, that's the manufacturer of Guinness. So the truth of the matter is, as our economy itself continues to evolve, as we have Nigerian nationals getting involved in production, manufacturing, this over some of these multinationals. And I will tell you the reason why. You and I are born here, raised here. Some of these multinationals, they have their head offices in Paris, they have their head offices in London. As they are looking at us, sometimes it's almost like the cases of a case of a glass cup where you have 50%, there is 50% full. Some people will be seeing a glass cup that's half empty. Some people will be seeing a glass cup that is half full. So what am I saying? Most of the time, the kind of risk they are looking at from abroad, we don't see it. You know why we don't see it? Because we're here, we're born here. Somebody will tell you, and I'm just making it up now, so you have an MD of a multinational company. He could have refused to come for the coronation of Olubadan, His Imperial Majesty Olubadan, on the guy that, oh, it will be rough, it will be this, it's in Mapo Hall, it will whatever. But the MD or the chief executive officer of an equivalent Nigerian company, who might even have a bigger business, will feel comfortable because he or she was born here, bred here, he understands that nothing will happen to him. So sometimes when I read reports by foreign analysts about Africa, an emerging market, the risk they are seeing, which if I'm seated there and I'm from there, I'll probably look at it from the same lens.
Perspective.
But because we're here, I remember going for a meeting once with one of the global financial institutions, and the question came around the Boko Haram incident, whatever. And the panel was shocked when I said the epicenter of Boko Haram is at least 1,000 kilometers away from Lagos. Because as far as he was concerned, he actually thought they were practically in Lagos. So sometimes this misalignment in the perception of risk drives them to take some of these decisions, whereas when you are here, you're familiar with this place, you don't see the risk. Or the risk is lower in the way it is perceived.
Okay, I'd like to take you through this. That Nigeria faces significant challenges, including widespread insecurity, from banditry, terrorism, high poverty, unemployment rate, systemic issues like corruption. The nation is, of course, the federal capital territory, undergoing a lot of challenges. However, there's an official GDP growth. Many of our citizens experience a low quality of life, marked by poverty, suffering, with the economy struggling to generate sufficient employment. Let's quickly look at how we're faring as a nation. It's the state of the nation we're discussing. Now, to your mind, with your experience, the number of years, yes, you were born in Nigeria, you grew up in Nigeria, you've worked all your life in Nigeria. How would you describe the state of our nation?
So, again, context matters. And the first point that is important to highlight is the fact that there has been a rebound in the economy. And we can't, in fact, one will lose his professionalism if you fail to acknowledge that this current administration has actually done a lot to reverse the downward trend in terms of our growth. And the numbers speak for what has been achieved. So one must give a lot of credit.
Dr. Adedoso,
if you allow me to just make this one. Okay. One must give a lot of credit to what has been achieved.
Okay.
As far as I can see, the economy is on an upward swing. Are there additional things that this government should be doing? The answer is yes. Like every other thing, there are areas for improvement. There are additional things we could be doing. But you can't but acknowledge that the president, His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and the team working on the economy, supporting the president, they've done a yeoman's job. And the statistics are very clear. So I just wanted to, first of all, say that
while you're talking about the economy, a lot of times we keep saying that there's a growth in our GDP. I do not have any doubt around that. But the question is, in the society, amongst the people can't see the growth. We can't see it. It's the reality of this growth is not there. So as a financial expert, can you tell us why we do not see this growth? Resuscitating into what the people will benefit from. We still see huge poverty among the people.